This achievement will live long in our collective memories. As a nation, we celebrate the South African relay team of Bayanda Walaza. You saw the teenager, Bradley Nkwana, who did it for his grandmother, Sean Maswanganyi and Akani Simbine, who really anchored the team for winning a silver medal in the men. And Van Dijk won a silver medal during the women's Ntshavheni event. These victories demonstrated the power of sport to unite and transcend all boundaries. Cabinet encourages South Africans to use unifying moments as opportunity to reach out to fellow South Africans to build the society that we all want to live in. And we cannot forget our lady, Tatiana Smith, who did us proud also with her gold, and she set the waters ablaze when she took her final lap at the Olympics. And also we have to congratulate Kuro Hazeldine for their support to Bayanda Walaza and sending his personal coach to support him there. For a teenager his age to be given that opportunity and the school to give that support, it's really a good step that all our schools should focus on. And we are also happy and encouraged that school sports is coming back strongly in the public schooling platforms. On congratulations, Cabinet extends its congratulations and well wishes to the newly crowned Miss South Africa 2024, Miss Maya Leroux, and salutes her resilience. Maya Leroux represents a true South African spirit of personal triumph over adversity. As a first person with a disability, a hearing impairment, to be crowned Miss South Africa, Cabinet wishes her well in a new responsibility as a true ambassador of what is being a South African. We also send our well wishes to the outgoing Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, who is retiring at the end of August 2024 after a distinguished judicial career spanning 24 years. Ms. Fikile Marakalla, who secured second place in the photo category of the SADC Media Awards in 2024. She began a career at the Government Communication and Information System as an intern and is now employed as part of the Deputy President's photography team. She's one of our own, and she's not in the room. She'll take a bow if she's in the room. Mr. Benjamin Mushotama of Channel Africa Radio, who scooped second place in the radio category at the SADC Media Awards 2024. To the dance group, Durban's Wu-Tang Crew, for winning gold and silver in the Judo World Street Dance Championship. The group achieved gold in the under-14 intermediate category and crowned intermediate world champions. To Councillor Dada Morero, the newly elected mayor of Johannesburg, and we wish him well as he undertakes the task of leading South Africa's largest metro. On condolences, it has been a week of great loss, in particular in the academic sector in South Africa. And Cabinet expressed its condolences to the family of and friends of Professor Mushe Nkondo, who was an eminent scholar in social policy and heritage. He made significant contributions to the development of public policies in areas from tourism of the heritage, what do they call it? The Heritage Park in where the funeral service is going to be held tomorrow. But he's also a former Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Venda, and contributed greatly to make sure that that region of Limpopo in particular performs academically, has its own university and development. He worked both from University of Limpopo, Univen, UNISA, anywhere you mention, Professor Nkondo has worked there. And also, we woke up to the news of the loss of Mr. William Smith, the mathematics and science education innovator and recipient of the prestigious National Order of the Baobab. Mr. William Smith helped many learners by simplifying maths, science, biology, and English lessons on SABC Learning Channel program, including myself. I benefited from his extra classes when extra lessons were not there. This is the man who introduced virtual teaching before the digital age. We all watched him on SABC TV. We also send our condolences to the family and friends of Ms. Zanele Mbokazi Nkambule, who was a presenter on Ukhozi FM and the founder of the Crown Gospel Awards. May their souls rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the comprehensive statement that covers both local and international spheres. Colleagues, I will then open the session for questions. The drill is the same. You identify yourself and the media house that you represent, and then we go straight to questions. Thereafter, we'll also check the online questions, those who have posted questions on our online platforms. Thank you very much. May I check in the room first if we have any hand? I don't see any. Oh, there is a hand there in the room as we go through 148 days without load shedding.
Junior Kumalo from Newsroom Africa. The first question, Minister, is on the imbizos that are taking place, the one that's going to be taking place tomorrow. There's been some concerns raised by opposition parties such as the Democratic Alliance on the costs of these imbizos. You yourself indicated that some of the challenges in that area include water shedding and load reduction. So the problems are known to government. So why is there a need to go back to those same communities and ask what the challenges they are facing are? Why not just try and come up with solutions? The second one, no, I'll come back. I forgot the second question.
Thank you very much, Julia. Let me check if there is any other hand. Perhaps, Minister, with your kind allowance, we can take one question online.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. TK?
Thank you, Mr. B, and good day, colleagues. The first question from online is coming from Spelele from Business Report, and the question is, what update did Cabinet receive about the postponement of the signing ceremony for the Presidential Health Compact as it was scheduled for Thursday last week? May I continue?
Yeah, you may continue.
And the second question, still from Spelele, is since big business is refusing to sign the health compact due to its explicit pledge supporting the NHI, and that this clause was amended unilaterally by the government, what does this say about the partnership between the government and the private sector, which President Cyril Ramaphosa hailed in his weekly newsletter this week? And we have a question from Kolekani Magubane from Business Times. The question is, please advise if an update was received by Cabinet on the major Petro SA, SWF, and Central Energy Fund, and if Cabinet has a view on Petro SA CEO Koile Sizan, who was appointed in February on a probationary basis, but as yet to be confirmed as permanent CEO.
No, thank you very much. I think my colleague has also rejuvenated the questions.
When it comes to the national dialogue, was there any discussion amongst the executive on when that will be held? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see the activity on the online. We will give them a second round of questions. Minister. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start with the first question from Junior on the imbizos and the DA. The DA is part of government, and we will see the ministers and the imbizos themselves and deputy ministers answering the questions there. So The imbizos are not about what we know. It's also the ability of government to receive feedback from the communities, direct feedback. Remember what the mechanism of getting feedback, you rely on media to relay what you say people are saying. But that direct engagement gives a different approach and understanding both from communities and the people. And let me take the examples that we have referred to in the Zakani area and Etwata. The water problems, they're not water shading. The issue is that they're connected. The water supply to Ekurhuleni comes through, they use this from rainwater. They use the line from Tshwane. And because Tshwane is low-lying and Ekurhuleni is higher, so when Tshwane has high consumption, Ekurhuleni will then not have water. They've put in 39 reservoirs. I may be not getting the number right, but we know, I think it's 39 reservoirs. But they cannot be filled up because of the consumption in Tshwane. So rainwater must then put a line into the direct line for Ekurhuleni to have its own water. And we know we have a challenge of water in Gauteng. But if you go back, you see that program has been rescheduled a number of times. The Minister of Water will be there, the President will be there. Rainwater will have to make a commitment, both in front of the people, the President, and their Minister, to say when is that line going to be built. And that commitment is important to build a relationship of trust between the people, their government, because they'll know that the President will be watching. And you know that we have introduced fortnightly briefings. I think next week is the Minister of Water will be briefing in terms of progress they're doing to deliver water in areas that have those challenges. We do that, but also the direct engagement, like when you engage with me in this briefing, because we could simply issue a statement and you read the statement and you print whatever it is, but we do the direct engagement so that you can have the other explanation. But it's the relationship between government and its people, and that relationship is cardinal, because a government that is not in touch with its people is not with being a government at all. And on the issue, and I want to deal with the issue of the load reduction. The load reduction problem in that area is because people have done illegal connections in the area, and no matter what government can do, what ESCOM can do, without the people committing to remove illegal connections and make sure nobody connects illegally and start paying their electricity, ESCOM will be left with no choice but to do load reduction to manage the consumption, the illegal consumption that is taking place on the grid. So that is also another level of compacting to say load reduction is happening because of this, can you commit? And as communities, as we go back, you know, the President goes back to these places and will say, previously when we were here, you committed to do the following so that load reduction can stop. But to date, you have not done your part, and therefore ESCOM cannot meet you halfway in those. So that's part of building a relationship between government and its people, and you can never put a cost to that. That is an important part of our democracy and engagement. And there was a question let me deal with the next question that you raised on the national dialogue. Remember, the President has reiterated that government is committed to hosting the national dialogue. Work is underway to engage with the leading foundations to prepare for that national dialogue. And when those preparatory works have been done, we will then announce the dates. But Cabinet did not consider the matter. I just felt that I must just update on the issue that there is consultations underway in terms of planning the agenda and all those, and the mechanisms of running the dialogue. You can go back to the previous dialogue that was done in the country. You'll see the extent of the planning that is detailed. But we appreciate the efforts that the foundations led by the Thabo Mbeki Foundation have done to prepare for the national dialogue. And then there was a question around the merger of SAFE, SFF and Petro SA. In this cabinet committee, we didn't receive the briefing, but we have previously received, we continue to receive updates on the process to match those and the various proposals and the permutations the Minister and the Department of Minerals and Petroleum are considering for the merger. And there is nothing abnormal with a CEO that gets appointed on a probationary basis. Remember, the CEO will have to undergo security clearance. the CEO will have to also have performance targets. All CEOs, when they are appointed, if you go and check with their boards, they would have been probationary clauses that are put as a standard requirement, and they have to fulfill certain conditions to be confirmed in those positions. And on the other questions from Spelele on the whether we received an update on the postponement of the signing ceremony. The Presidential Health Compact is being signed today, and there was no need for an update really. It's going to be signed today. The acting president, Deputy President Paul Mashatile, will oversee the signing. I think in an hour's time from now, the ceremony will start. And the issue around the NHI, I've explained previously that everyone in South Africa, whether it's private sector, whether it's government, whether it's civil society, agrees on the need for access, universal access to health in this country. And that universal access to health is underpinned by quality health infrastructure and enough or sufficient and well-trained health professionals, and also everybody, irrespective of their status and standing, having access to the medical care that they require. And we've also clarified that the differences around the NHI are what we deem tactical differences, and the Minister of Health is undergoing a roadshow engaging with stakeholders to explain the implementation mechanism of the NHI, so that whatever worries and discomforts that may be there can be clarified. But the NHI is law in this country, and the business sector knows that is law, and we continue to engage with them. And the partnership with business in the country is a partnership that is not based on one issue. It's a partnership that is based on all parties including labor and civil society, promoting what is the best interest of this country. So the NHI, the small differences of society included. That is not included, that is stable, and that is not good for business. I'll take the next one of questions.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm not sure before I go online if there is any follow-up question from the room. Going. Tagalani, take us through the next questions.
Thank you, Mr. B. The following questions are from Terence Kramer from Engineering News. And the first one is, when is the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act expected to come into force now that it has been signed by the President? And does the Cabinet expect a legal challenge to the electricity regulation in light of constitutionality concerns raised ahead of the signing? And what is the composition of the delegation that will accompany the President to China? And what specific trade and investment issues does South Africa expect to raise with the Chinese government? And we have a question from William Prince from Network 24. And the question is, did the President attend yesterday's cabinet meeting? And what is the latest in terms of his health, seeing that the President delegated some of his public engagements to the Deputy President or ministers over the last few days? And we have a question from Paul Bloomberg. Does South Africa still support the China peace proposal on Ukraine, Russia, or does it feel that it is now out of date? And we have Sophie Mukwena from the SABC, and the question is in line with Paul's question. In the essence, the question is, has South Africa spoken to Ukraine and Russia in recent months? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. There are some of the questions. I think I see some activity again. We might have the last round. Thank you.
I thought I was being clever and said Takarani must forward me the questions, and I realized how he was reading them and how I'm following them. I'm going to be in trouble, but in case I miss some of them, you'll just remind me. On the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act, it has become law. As soon as the President signs it, it has become law. Whether we expect a legal challenge, if the legal challenge comes, the government will be ready to go to court to defend the law. And the composition of the delegation, of course, the delegation will include ministers, it will include business because of the trade issues and the business issues. And because of FOCAC, I'm sure it will also include premiers from some of the provinces who have the relationships or who are trying to get investments from China, as we've indicated that China is the largest source of our foreign direct investment in the country, and they don't invest in one province, they do invest across the provinces. And in terms of what are the specific trade and investment issues, what we'll do, we'll organize Minister Pakstow to just come in and brief in detail on the trade forecast that we are pursuing, so that I don't start on one issue and another. But agriculture, of course, will be part of those. Manufacturing will be part of those. The issues around South Africa not wanting to export raw minerals and to beneficiate in the country, and it will be one of those areas. But Minister Pakstow of the Trade, Industry and Competition will get him to brief. I'm sure next week we can find a spot for him to brief. The update on the President's eye infection: he is recovering from the eye infection. His doctors have attended to him, and I do not know where South Africa expressed. South Africa's position on the Russia-Ukraine conflict is based on its foreign policy objectives that all wars must come to an end. And instead of coming to an end later, they must come to an end quicker, because the impact in particular of the Russia-Ukraine war on South Africa and the region of SADC and the African continent has been major in terms of both oil and grain. And with the El Nino situation of drought, that impact has, that conflict has led to high prices and the high cost of living within the African continent. It is for that reason that South Africa and some African leaders took an initiative to go and engage both President Zelensky and President Putin with mechanisms to bring them into a dialogue. You will remember the African Leaders Initiative did a 10-point plan, confidence building measures, so that the two countries or the two governments could end up in a dialogue at some point. And that is the position we remain on. And we had committed that we will assist with the other issues that had to be met in the 10-point plan, and that work continues to be done both through our diplomatic channels and also through our back channels. And then there was an issue around whether the President attended cabinet. No, the President did not attend cabinet. President Mashatile has been acting, Deputy President Mashatile has been acting President as the President receives treatment and recovers from his eye infection. And on the weekend, I got a frantic calls Wise Minister Mtsaka, acting president. She was acting president because Deputy President was out of the country at that point. In terms of our constitution, the Deputy President acts for the President when the President is not able to fulfill his duties. In the absence of both the President and the Deputy President, a minister can be appointed, so that we clarify ourselves and each other and there are no confusion. So when you see a minister appointed acting, it means the Deputy President is also not available to take up his acting responsibilities. Did I leave any questions that were asked? Tagarani, did I leave any questions that you...
Thank you very much, Minister. We are just taking the last round, the sweeping round. Any questions online, Tagalani?
Thank you, Mr. Bill. What should be the last question from online is from Alpha from Hubs FM. And the question is, there have been changes in political leadership at several municipalities across the country over the past few days. And you have mentioned the new mayor of Joburg, and isn't the cabinet worried about these continuous changes and how these changes will cause instability at the local level? And secondly, ESCOM submitted a draft revenue application to NERSA asking for 36.15% electricity price hike for the 2025-26 financial year. And many municipalities have rejected this application. And the question is, will the cabinet support municipalities? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tagalani. Minister, these were the last questions that we had virtually. After the response, we will request the Minister to sign off and adjourn the press briefing.
And I'm trying to call a friend on the NERSA tariff issues, and I'm hoping the DG is helping me check the information I've asked on the NERSA tariff. On the continuous changes of leadership in municipalities, if you recall, in the 6th administration, the Department of Culture, led by then Minister Thembi Smelani, drafted a bill which is in consultation with, which is out for public consultation, that was looking at a framework for coalitions and collective governing in municipalities, where the largest party will then form government with the participation of others. And that initiative was also championed by Deputy President in the 6th administration, including convening a convening engagement session on that framework. Because in this current environment, it's not ideal to have exorbitant tariffs. So it's not just cabinet supporting municipalities. It's going back to what I announced earlier, to say there are ministers who are working on the cost of living adjustment. We've started on fuel, but we are going, part of the extension of that work is going to cover electricity and other areas of impact. We just wanted to start on fuel because if you have a larger scope, you will not be able to complete that work quick enough. But if we focus on a particular area, bring it to bed, then we can have South Africans can have relief on that part of on that aspect, whilst we work on the other mechanisms. So we'll have to, as the Cabinet Committee deals with the cost of living implications for South Africans, we'll have to engage with not only the NERSA tariffs, but the cost of electricity in the country. You'll recall that at some point, electricity was one of the cheapest services in this country, and how we claw us back into that. And we know that the challenges were exacerbated by the problems we were confronted with at Eskom. But where we're sitting, the impact of the electricity prices on citizens is not something that Cabinet is not aware of, and Cabinet has a committee that is working on a collective cost of living package, but because of the scope, we are going to focus on that on one matter and bring it to bed and move to the next one. I'm sure that and confident that when we are done with the focus on fuel, we'll then also move to the focus on electricity. Not saying in other areas it will not be possible. I'm aware that the Minister of Human Settlements is going to be briefing on the packages they're doing to make housing affordable to the missing middle category of people. She was supposed to brief this afternoon. It has been postponed. I'm sure we're going to reschedule it. Okay, I'm told she's going to brief on Monday, because we continue to find measures in our individual departments, but also in areas where it requires collective efforts of departments or a cluster to make sure that we alleviate the impact of the high cost of living to South Africans. And as we conclude this press briefing, I want to wish you all well, and the remainder of the weekend wish you well. And for those in Ekurhuleni and those in Gauteng wishing to join the presidential DDM in Ekurhuleni, you are invited to come and join us. But also in this important month of women, as we go towards the wrapping up, we want to urge all South Africans to say the fight against gender-based violence and femicide, it's all our fight. We must continue to protect our women and children. And it's not a month-based program, it's a year-long program, because it's a daily struggle for our women and children. And on behalf of the security cluster and the chairperson of the cluster, Minister Senzo Mkhunu, the security cluster is committing and reassuring South Africans that is putting its finger on the tip of the crime situation in the country, and as we work to build safer communities. Thank you. Have the rest of the day.